Artifacts in May brings you an all-star cast of captivating characters, including the Plymouth Music Series' own Philip Brunelle.
Midwest Media Artist Access Center's own Randy Olson.
And to top it off, a group of folks who are cooking up art in Minneapolis public housing high-rises.
And wouldn't you know, yep, by golly, there's more. Stay tuned for Artifacts.
Next.
Ah, 'tis spring, the grass is green, the flowers are in bloom. I'm digging in my garden every chance I get.
And we're both digging on a great lineup of guests on Artifacts in May. Hello, everyone. I'm Phill Lindsay.
And I'm Janet Zahn with Office of Film, Video, and Recording. And speaking of digging our guests, we're very excited to welcome Philip Brunelle of the Plymouth Music Series to the Artifacts Studios for the first time ever.
And after my interview with Mr. Brunelle, Janet welcomes the new executive director of the Midwest Media Artist Access Center. His name is Randy Olson.
Then Phil takes the high road to the high-rises when he interviews John Stumme, Carol Vance, and Johnny Walker, who are building unity through the arts in Minneapolis public housing high-rises.
And then finally, Minneapolis Police Crime Prevention Specialist Linda Roberts sings the blues with her Linda Roberts Blues Band right here in our studio.
Plus film clips, arts news, event highlights, and many attempts at wit and wisdom by my pal, Phil.
Oh, and my pal, Janet.
Right after this clip from one of the films that will be screened during the 10th Annual Midwest Film and Video Showcase, May 7th through the 21st at the Walker Arts Center.
Enjoy.
I guess it's in your blood, you know. I mean, when I first started out, you know, I didn't have no family or anybody that I had to worry about, people picking on or anything. You don't worry about nothing. You're young and you're vicious and you gotta like it, you know. The kicking and the gouging and the eye gouging, you know, and everything. And I loved it. I can still do it. I can still go 10, 15 minutes, you know, without blowing up and puffing too hard. Hey, I got arthritis, but I take my pills, and so I'm better. I'm even better right now than I was in the late 80s. Then I was so bad I had to be on crutches and everything, and now it's like in remission or something. I owe it a lot to the business I've been in, you know, landscaping and now with lawn maintenance. You know, I'm just used to hard work, you know.
Well, bring back Wally Karbo. My next guest is a venerable founder of a landmark institution here in the Twin Cities. I'm talking about Philip Brunelle, artistic director and founder.
Right.
30 years of the Plymouth Music Series. Congratulations.
Thank you. I was 6, obviously, when I started.
Yes, that's right. You were a wee tad.
Right, exactly.
Very impressive. And what I just learned in chatting with you before the cameras came on, before that you had been with the Minnesota Orchestra.
Right.
I'm getting, was it the Minneapolis Symphony?
It was the Minneapolis Symphony, right. I was 19. I was the youngest member of the orchestra, and I was with them for 5 years.
Who was conducting them at that time?
Skrovichevsky had just come.
Good for you.
So it was a long time ago, but it doesn't really doesn't seem that long.
No, it just flies by. 30 years, though. What a great run you've had.
Well, it's been wonderful because the choral community is so enthusiastic in this town, and there's a great love for choral music, and you know, there is a reason why people refer to Minnesota as the Mecca of choral music in the United States, and so much of it happens here, and we found a unique niche that would help to promote choral music that was outside the sort of 10 or 12 war horses that everybody hears, and so we don't do those because others will do them.
You get your chance to hear those.
Those will get done, and they have their own, they don't need a champion. But a lot of other music does need a champion, and so that's where we fit in and where we have fit in for 30 years.
Philip, why are we a Mecca? I've got a hunch I've got one part of the answer, but what is it that drives this tremendous outpouring of choral music in the Minnesota area?
I think it's a historical one. It's partly because of isolation, because in the 19th century, as all those people began to settle here, I mean, let's face it, the Twin Cities in those days were so far away from any other large area of choral music. The next close area for, excuse me, for any kind of music would have been Chicago.
Right.
And consequently, they had to sort of do it themselves. Plus which, the folks who came here, mainly from Germany and from the Scandinavian countries at first, came from countries that had very, very lively choral traditions. So they simply kept that tradition going by making sure that the colleges and the schools had this as part of their curriculum.
And I'm guessing the religious institutions as well.
Absolutely. But also the Minneapolis public schools back in the 1930s, the system for music education, which was evolved and developed for our schools, which then went national, was done by a guy here in Minneapolis at the time named Samuel Giddings. And he began this very important process. So there's been a long, long tradition here.
That's great. And you've capitalized on it.
Absolutely.
Now, besides presenting to your audiences music other than the War Horses, I know that you, which goes into the canon, I assume, but you also then commission special pieces. You're supportive of new composers.
Oh yes, over the years now we've commissioned close to 80 new works, and we just commissioned a new piece by Stephen Paulus. Earlier this season we commissioned a piece by the man who is Finland's sort of Aaron Copland, a man named Rautavaara. We commissioned New York composer Aaron J. Kernis in December. So we continue to do a lot of commissioning because I feel very strongly that as well as doing the pieces that have already been written, we need to encourage composers who are living today to be interested in choral music.
I want to ask two questions. One about composers, besides those exciting composers that you're working with, are we developing composers hereabouts? Are they coming up through the ranks here in the Twin Cities or Minnesota area?
Oh yes, because in the Twin Cities we have the preeminent service organization for composers, which is called the American Composers Forum. And that organization is the most important one in the whole United States, happens to have its offices here in St. Paul, and that organization has about 800 composer members from all over the United States and beyond. And so, yes.
And including some from around here.
Many, hundreds from around this area.
With that many, how do you, as an artistic director, sift through and say, this would fit for our series?
It's not easy.
I would imagine.
Well, if you saw my office, you would understand.
Yeah.
I mean, there's piles of...
An embarrassment of riches, probably.
Yes. I mean, composers are always sending me things, and you try to look through and see when you think something might fit. In many cases, I can't use it because there just isn't enough time.
Sure.
But then I might suggest it to a colleague and say, hey, you ought to look at this piece. This
well,
is
that's
something
supportive,
else.
sure.
You know, absolutely. So you try to find other ways to support them as well. I write a monthly column for one of the music magazines in which I'm talking about new works that have just been written. So, you know, you try to find other ways to help composers because you need to encourage them, and there are a lot of really talented people out there.
Well, that's good news. The other question I want to ask, you'd mentioned earlier the great traditions of singing. Are the young people today still singing?
It's coming back. We had an era in the 80s when people thought that music was a frill, and I just used to shake my head and go, if you only realized how people who study an instrument, how all of that applies to basic school study, etc. Plus just the enjoyment you get also aesthetically.
Yeah, it's a good
from
grounding
music.
for the individual.
And so it's coming back, and it's come back in a very strong way. And the wonderful thing, of course, about singing is you don't have to buy an instrument. You already have.
Very portable. That's a good point.
You have the instrument, and so it's become much more a thing back in the schools, and I see a great increase. We sort of lost one generation, but now the next generation is coming along with it.
Well, that's good news to hear. I wanted to ask you, as an artistic director, how do you put a season together? What do you look at as you're saying, okay, we've got this season coming up? How do you make those choices?
It's a combination of several things. Because we do not have our own performance home, we're always looking for the places that we feel in the Twin Cities that we can use, and we don't use just one location. Orchestra Hall, the Basilica, the Ordway, the Benson Hall at Bethel College, Ted Mann Concert Hall at the U, any number of places. So part of it for me is what music fits in that space.
So to some extent you tailor the sound of what you're going to work with for the restraints of that hall.
Right. I mean, there are certain pieces that are phenomenal in Orchestra Hall and other ones that really wouldn't sound very good in there at all. So you try to figure out what fits in what space. You also want to do a broad kind of look at music. Some pieces are going to be much better known than others. For instance, next October, we open our 31st year by doing George Gershwin's musical of Thee I Sing, and I have Maureen McGovern coming to take the lead in that. And, you know, so there's that kind of thing. We're doing a totally unknown Bach work in the following month of May to close the season that no one knows. And I've got Myron Johnson's Ballet of the Dolls to dance it.
Well,
while
that's
we
a nice
sing.
Combination.
Yeah, so I mean, this kind of bizarre combination. But to me, it's a whole mixture of how we put a season together. Plus, we have several commissioned works during the year. And it's one of the things I work very, very hard on is how to come up with an interesting season of repertoire that an audience will want to come and attend.
Right. How far do you feel like leading your audience? In other words, introducing them to some things maybe that they aren't familiar with.
Oh, I mean, I will lead them as enthusiastically as I can, because as long as I believe in it, I feel very comfortable bringing them along. I mean, I don't do anything that I don't believe in as far as music. And there's so much great music that you don't have to worry about that.
That's great. There's a conference coming up this June.
It's a conference in June called Chorus America Conference. Chorus America is the service organization for all the professional and community choruses of the United States. It's about 700 of them. And so there's a conference and it moves to a various city. And this particular June, Plymouth Music Series is hosting it, and so we will be the first week of June coming here, and then the big concert as part of that, we are presenting at Ted Mann at the university a piece by Kurt Weill, who most people know from Three Penny Opera, but he wrote a huge, big oratorio about the Jewish people called The Road of Promise, which we will be doing at Ted Mann Hall on the first Thursday in June.
Okay, that sounds exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, to some extent, people doing choral music come out of an amateur background. In other words, they're not getting paid. They're not making a living doing this. Some have a professional opportunity to do this. What are some of the issues and trends that you as an artistic director and the founder of an organization have had to deal with? Is it hard to find people who can have the time to contribute?
It's, to some extent it is, but we have had a wonderful, everyone auditions every year.
Okay, for every voice in your choir?
Those who are volunteer and those who are paid, they all audition.
So you're going for the voice?
Absolutely,
yeah.
Absolutely. I'm going for the voice and I'm going for the personality, because it's very important that you have people who enjoy working together. So I'm looking for the beauty of the voice, I'm looking for the beauty of the personality.
So you're knitting an ensemble together,
absolutely.
Is what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Does stage presence play into it? As much as the interaction on...
No, but the stage presence comes if they have the personality, the stage presence will come right along with it. You don't have any problem with that happening at all. And so everyone, I've found that there's a great wealth of wonderful vocal talent here, and we just encourage people to sign up. We obviously can't use everyone because I have 24 professional singers, and then I have the larger chorus of 100. But we've had a wonderful selection of people, and they, you know, we give them the schedule for the year, and so people know what they're getting into. And most people who want to do it will find a way in their busy lives to make this a priority.
That's right. Any changes you've noticed in audiences? Is there any trend in who's coming to hear you sing? Has that changed in the 30 years?
I think that's gotten the audience has gotten younger.
Oh, interesting.
I think there are more younger people that are finding it interesting to hear what's happening with choral music. I think always the challenge with choral music is the fact that most people hear a choir, let's say in their high school or in their church, and so they can't imagine until they come and hear us that this is quantitatively at another level.
Yes, a fuller range and a deeper...
much more. And they go, people come and they go, oh, I didn't know it.
That's what that is.
So, you know, they understand that in the orchestral world, but they don't always understand it in the choral world. And then they come and then they're just blown away. It
opens up new ideas for them.
Absolutely.
We've got just a moment left. To support what you were just talking about, does radio play a part in this to expose folks who might otherwise not have heard?
Oh, yes. Great. I mean, our concerts, for instance, are picked up by Minnesota Public Radio and broadcast statewide. Certain of the concerts are broadcast nationally, so we are able to get our programs out. We do some touring. It's just limited again by time, but we do some run-outs. So we annually go up to St. John's University at Collegeville and do something. This year we were down at Gustavus Adolphus College. So we do a little bit of that. In July, the ensemble singers will be featured in Rotterdam at the World Choral Symposium.
exposure
Oh, yeah.
internationally.
Big thing, big thing.
One final question, Philip. If people want to get in touch with the Plymouth Music Series and perhaps yourself, there's a number they can call?
They can call and get a brochure sent to them for next season, 612-870-0943.
Very good. Philip Brunelle, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a great, exciting season.
Thank you.
That's good. Now, Randy Olson is the new executive director at the Midwest Media Artists Access Center. He'll join Janet right after we look at some production stills from a film produced by Rodney Strong called Welcome to Alaska. Please notice that all the equipment in the photos is rented from Midwest Media Artists Access Center. Stay tuned.
And welcome back, everybody. I'm Janet Zahn, and you just saw some black and white photos from a film called Journey to Alaska. That was a project that was done through the Midwest Media Artist Access Center. And with me is the new executive director, Randy Olson. Welcome.
Thank you.
Congratulations on your new job. Pretty excited to start this deal.
I am definitely, yeah. I see a tremendous amount of interest in the arts. It's very interesting working with MAC and working with people that are so devoted to their craft.
Tell me, for those people who are not familiar with this organization, Midwest Media Artists Access Center, what is it? What is this organization all about?
Okay, we operate as a nonprofit, and we make available primarily 16mm motion picture production equipment. So we have both training and facilities and equipment, meaning we have cameras, lighting, audio equipment to go on location, and editing equipment for film. And 16mm primarily some people work in that are either beginning, emerging, or independent film artists. It's still something that's basically an affordable format to work in. It's not nearly as expensive as 35mm.
Right. Now, this is what MAC has been doing for a long time. There's history here. This is an organization that grew out of when the film in the cities reached its demise. This rose out of the ashes, so to speak. And so there's a long history. Tell us a little bit about that history and how you got to where you are today, do you think?
Okay. Well, you mentioned the old film in the cities, and
Yeah.
they had been around for over 20 years. I used to be a member of them in the early 80s and go to film screenings there. And eventually, when that organization disbanded, there were a number of media arts producers, primarily film producers, that became very alarmed that they would no longer have access to affordable equipment in the Twin Cities. So a group of, I believe, about a dozen, maybe slightly more, got together and saw if they could form a nonprofit organization and acquire the assets, meaning the working stock of the old film in the cities. About 5 years ago, they acquired nonprofit status, purchased all the cameras and the editing equipment and the black and white darkroom facilities that Film in the Cities had, and started up a new organization, Midwest Media Artist Access Center. It started out, I believe, for the first year being entirely operated by volunteers, and slowly as membership and revenue has grown, they've added staff members, and now we're up to, I believe I looked at the database, and it's about 337 members, and about 90% of those are active members, meaning they come in and use the facility either for photography or film work.
How do you become a member?
Becoming a member, there's an annual membership fee. It's a basic $75 fee, and that will get you access to all of film equipment, meaning the cameras, the editing systems. It'll get you discounts on classes. And if you want to use our black and white darkroom, which I'm told and I believe is true, is the largest accessible darkroom in the Twin Cities. So other than us, you would have to be a college student to get into a large black and white darkroom. There's an additional $20 fee annually to use our darkroom.
So this is really a unique service that you offer with all the film organizations in town and organizations that cater to filmmakers. You have a unique position here.
We are the only organization in the Twin Cities that offers equipment below market rates. We're able to subsidize that operating as a nonprofit because we do look for foundation grants, and by operating with members and our nonprofit, we're able to make this equipment available for about a half to a third of regular market rates without, an organization like ours, people would have no way to get started in the film industry without a tremendous amount of money.
What's the most exciting challenge now you're in a new position here that you see facing within the next year or so?
Well, other than just getting started, since I've only been on the job
Yeah.
6 weeks, I think one of the real exciting challenges, because I think it's exciting, is going to be the merge of the process of the past century. I'm talking about the chemical photography and film-based motion pictures with the new digital equipment coming in.
Do you think Mac is actually going to be able to, now this is, the equipment that you're working with now is affordable. Now, are you thinking of possibly investing in some of the digital equipment, or is that part of the scenario, or?
Well, I think sooner or later we're going to have to figure out some way to enter the digital realm. It's sort of a foregone conclusion. People are going to be wanting to work in that manner. However, you know, if I had my way, I would like to also keep the film available both as still and motion picture, because it's an art form that is not going to be able to be equaled in a digital realm. Digital has a whole different set of qualities and aesthetics to it.
And you were talking, you've worked, for your background, you were in the cable side of the business for a long time, community access.
Over a dozen years,
Yeah.
I've been in either public access or local original cable. So I've seen a lot of, you know, grassroots-based productions in my time, worked on them, been a production truck operator, and for the last 5 years I managed a cable access facility.
You were talking with me earlier about the difference between, you know, some of the differences that you see with people who are in that realm versus people who are creating film.
Yeah, it's one of the real interesting things I see in coming to MAC. It's almost getting back to some of my art background from the university. I'm seeing people that are very much into their craft and crafting an image. In public access, there are a lot of very good people doing a lot of very good work, but it's very fast-paced oriented, and the pace seems to be very much TV news type oriented, where you need to get a product, you need to get the product out, and then produce something else. Working with the film producers, just for the short time I have at MAC, I see a whole different intensity and energy level, because they're very much into crafting that image and getting a very good quality looking image to tell the story that they're after. So it's a whole different type of energy, basically still coming off in media arts.
Tell me about the next big film event you've got coming up.
Okay, the next big event, we already pulled off one, which was our members screening, which happened only 4 weeks after I started. And
you jumped right into the
yes, I
fire.
did jump right into the fire. Now we're starting up with another piece we're going to have for public relations. We're going to be doing this with the Center for Performing Arts in Minneapolis, and what we're going to be having is the second annual First Films Festival. And the concept we have with First Films Festival is sort of unique. We're going to be looking for up to a dozen established media producers, and our curator is then going to go through submissions from beginning media producers. And what we're attempting to do is pair up established people with beginning people and to see both of their first works. So the idea being, we could see somebody that's been in the business for 20 years, see their first work, and have them talk a bit about how did they get to the point where they are in their career, and then we could see a beginning work from a beginning artist and have them talk a little bit about their aspirations, and sort of work as a catalyst from that whole thing for people continuing the work, and other people, of course, hopefully getting the idea, hey, I could do that too.
I just think that is such a great idea. I love the thought of, you know, you always, there's nothing magical, or there's a bit of magic certainly in creativity and in how filmmakers work, but there's also those people that you admire so much, and to see probably maybe some pretty lowly beginnings of how they started, and they all went through that first film too. I think that's a great idea. When is that going to be happening?
That is going to be, and let me try to get the date right, the last Saturday in June, which I believe is the 26th.
That is the right answer, sir.
8 p.m. Center for the Performing Arts, Minneapolis.
Okay.
If you need more information on it, either for submissions or screening information, call MAC, and anyone on staff can give you more information.
Let's give our viewers that phone number. The MAC phone number is 651-644-1912. And that's the second annual First Films Festival. You're going to be taking submissions, I would imagine, through the
Yes,
month
we
of May.
are.
Okay. So people can, if they want to submit work or if they want to make sure they come and see this, they can call that number. MAC also has a website. Let's put that up on the screen, www.m, as in Mary, TN /MMAAC.
And our website has all the membership information, benefits, organizational information, and the start of a gallery.
So as you move forward, what do you think Mac's strongest suit is?
I think the strongest suit right now is both the commitment of the board of the directors and the commitment of the producers. I see a lot of energy from producers that are working with their pieces, and I'd like to carry that energy into, new media as they become available and become affordable.
Well, I can feel your energy coming off of this too. I think you'll do a great job, and I wish you the best of luck. I'm pleased to hear about your plans, and I think the community, of course, really needs somebody over at Mac doing what you're doing, so congratulations.
Well, thank you.
And thank you very much for being on Artifacts.
It's been a pleasure being on.
All right, Randy. Coming up next, a clip from a film called Screwdrivers, directed by Benno Nelson, who just happens to be my new assistant in the Office of Film, Video, and Recording. Welcome aboard, Benno. Screwdrivers will be screened at the Walker's Midwest Film and Video Showcase and is one of 6 films featured at the Art-A-Whirl Film Fest on May 19th. The Film Fest is the kickoff event for Art-A-Whirl 99, a 3-day whirlwind of artist workshops, demonstrations, and gallery and studio tours, May 21st through the 23rd in Northeast Minneapolis. For more information, call 612-379-2255. And now, here's Screwdrivers.
I never felt so good, so funky. The late afternoon sun beamed at us through Patty's bedroom window. I never felt so good, so enchanted. Everything was funny. Everything was beautiful. We played the Eagles' Hotel California on Patty's stereo and sung it in 2-part harmony. For the first time in my life, I understood the lyrics, or my conception of them, or that having a conception of the meaning behind the lyrics of Hotel California was all that the Eagles required of their listeners. By God, I understood. The afternoon sun was dying, breathing its last, giving way to the cool cricket summer blue night. Patty was stone cold asleep, legs sprawled, snoring like my dad after payday. I realized with a start that I had to be home by 5 for dinner. And for the first time in a long time, I tried to stand up. I made my way down Patty's creaky attic stairway.
More information on the Film Fest and other Art-A-Whirl events can be found on the web at www.art-a-whirl.org.
I'm glad you did that. That's very good. And now, a few arts news highlights. The Minneapolis City Council last month approved $125,000 to establish an Office of Cultural Affairs. According to Mayor Sharon Sales Belton, who included funding for the office in her 1999 budget, it will provide overall coordination, service support, and promotion of the arts. The initial outlay of money will be for a director and an assistant, according to city sources. Job descriptions are being written this month, with selected personnel to be in place this summer. The office will encompass the Minneapolis Arts Commission and the Minneapolis Office of Film, Video, and Recording. It will be located in the office of the city coordinator.
Members of the newly formed Film US organization, including representatives from the Minnesota Film Board, will be meeting in Washington, D.C. in May to discuss ways to keep America as competitive as possible for domestic and international film, video, and new media production. The organization was formed in part to address runaway production to Canada.
50 Minneapolis College of Art and Design students this spring will create a 225-foot mural along Nicollet Mall and 6th Street. The mural, to be installed this month around the site of a new 29-story office tower, will be up for 2 years. The Minneapolis Arts Commission and the college's academic services will coordinate the artwork for Hines, the building's developer. The mural's theme is cityscapes.
Minnesota film prospects are hot right now. 2 feature-length films are looking at Minnesota, including a Jessica Lange project scheduled for the end of the summer. We've had interest from a dramatic TV series, and a number of independent films are on track for summer production as well. For up-to-date information, call the Minnesota Film Board hotline, 612-333-0436.
Culminating 10 years' efforts by members of the Phillips neighborhood in South Minneapolis, the new Franklin Cultural Center last month took formal ownership of the Franklin Theater. That's at 11th and Franklin. The new owners will operate the facility as Franklin Artworks with an art gallery, theater and community space, and a coffee shop. Exhibitions are slated to begin in September, with most of the center's first year of programming already funded. The group also expects the building's false facade to be removed sometime this fall. And that's the Artifacts Arts News for May 1999.
John Stumme, Carol Vance, and Johnny Walker join Phill to talk high-rise art right after this art quote.
Or just have wealthy friends. That might work as well. Well, the reason my next guests are here is because I got a call some months back from a gentleman who was very excited about a project that he was part of. His name is Stephen Hatcher, and he said, we've got a great project going on here in the Minneapolis Public Housing high-rises, and he wanted me to know about it. He sent me some information, and through some phone calls, I was able to line up, I think, the right people to sit here and talk about the Artist Forum and related activities. I want to welcome John Stumme, and Johnny Walker, and Carol Vance. Now, you're all involved one way or another with the Minneapolis Public Housing high-rises, and in particular, there's an artist forum, and I want to talk about that in a moment. That's part of another committee, or a subcommittee, I guess, of a diversity committee, but it all goes back to the fact that in Minneapolis, we have this tremendous community of public housing in the high-rises, among other places. John, if you could just describe, if you would, what are the public housing high-rises? What part of the community is that?
Okay. Well, Phill, the public housing high-rises are for low-income individuals living in Minneapolis. There are 40 high-rises in Minneapolis, and about 5,000 residents living in them. They're centered all around the metropolitan area, and they house a very rich diversity of people in terms of age, in terms of race, ethnicity, culture. So it's a very rich diversity of people living within these 40 buildings.
Right, and as you say, it's throughout the city.
Correct.
It's not all concentrated in one area, it's all over.
Correct.
And so in some ways these people have things in common, but on the other hand they may not be next door neighbors.
That's correct.
Okay, now one of the goals, as I understand it, is to help bridge the diversity and make this part of a community. And I think that's where your committee comes in, Johnny. The Diversity Committee, can you talk a little bit about what that committee is and what its goals are?
Well, most the things that we work with is the art, which is in a little separate thing by itself, and which is real interesting with that. But we try to find the monies and things that they need to do the things that they have to do, such as displays and any other thing that they want to do.
So you run a little interference for them on that,
yes.
on that side. That's great.
So, and then we also help the residence councils form their little committees and so forth, or where they might have some problem with not being able to read Russian, Somalian, Spanish.
Some communication issues
yeah,
here,
so
sure.
it's kind of weaves in and out of the different buildings to try and help the people get along together. That's the important part, is getting along together.
Well, I imagine. Now, I think what you just referred to is that each building has its own representative council.
That's right.
And then I'm guessing that there's a sort of an overarching association of those representative councils, and they talk with one another about common interests and things like that.
Sure.
And that's part of what you do, John?
Right. The Diversity Committee is actually a committee of the citywide organization, which is the Minneapolis High-Rise Representative Council.
Okay.
And I am a staff person, one of the staff people that residents have hired to carry out their programs and their initiatives.
Great. And you chair that particular committee. That's right. Okay. And then one of the constituent parts of that is what's called the High-Rise Artist Forum.
Right.
And Carol, I know you're an artist.
Right.
Can you talk very briefly about when the Artist Forum started?
It started about 2 years ago. Stephen Hatcher put an ad in our lowdown paper, which goes to all the high rises. And I called him, and so we
What was
got
the name
busy.
of that paper?
It's Lowdown.
The Lowdown for the high
high-rise,
rises. I
right.
like that. That's good. Okay. And so he kind of instigated this. I mean,
Right.
he just had a sense that there were a lot of artists in the community.
Right. And it's not only just for art, it's for visual, for dancing, singing, performing arts, I guess. And now we're starting a writing class also.
Oh, that's very exciting. Now, if there are about 5,000 people involved in that live in the high-rises, do you have any sense of how many people are involved with the Artist Forum? I mean, there's got to be more than a few from the exhibitions that I've seen.
Oh, gosh, we've had like as many as 20, 25 at the shows sometime.
That's great. Actually exhibiting their work.
And singing and dancing.
That's great. Now, what about your background? You yourself are involved in a couple of art forms. What do you do?
Well, I'm a photographer, and I'm also an artist. I do portraits, and I
Okay.
do pictures like this with my camera. I take the pictures from my window.
That's great. Yeah, you were nice enough, all of you, to bring some actual art. Well, why don't we take a look at some of the art that you brought? We've got some very nice pieces here to look at. And what you were just referencing here is a photo you took. What floor do you live on? I'm curious to know.
14.
14th floor? Mm-hmm. And you're in northeast Minneapolis?
Right.
And so obviously this is the Minneapolis skyline here. I love, anytime I get into a building, I like to get up as high as I can and look out the window, especially if it's a city that I'm familiar with. So this is great. Now, do you take different perspective shots? I mean,
Yeah, I'm going to get into that now too, and go right downtown and get some good shots too. And
now, have you ever gone into a downtown building and shot back out towards your building?
no, I haven't yet.
I think you should talk to some of these people in some
Right.
of the skyscrapers there.
I would like to get in all the high rises and find the right spot.
There's a show right there.
Right.
Gosh, all 40 of them?
Right.
Okay, your life's work is in front of you. That's
Right.
impressive. I love it. Why don't you describe, we can't miss right here in front of us a beautiful vase here. Do you want to just talk a little bit about what this is and who's the artist?
Sure. This is a hand-painted ceramic, and Chong Shin is a Korean lady that lives in a high-rise.
That's
and
great.
she does ceramics
Yeah,
and
just
vases.
hold that right there for a second. I particularly like the brilliance of the red there and the fine work there with the branches and the leaves. I believe at a show you had at headquarters at 1001 North Washington in the winter. I came and saw a show, and one or two of her pieces were there, and I was really struck by them.
Right, and she also does watercolor. She's very good.
So like yourself then, kind of a multimedia artist here. And we have a couple of others. Maybe you can just refer briefly to what's behind you here and behind Johnny.
Sure, this is done by Tom Snyder. We call him Swifty.
Swifty?
Right.
Tom Swifty?
And that's one of Chong Shin's watercolors,
Oh, that you
I
were just
believe.
talking about. Sure, sure. Also very delicate.
Right.
Those are nice. Well, great. Now, Johnny, I know that you also do some arts. You're known for your singing when I've talked with people who knew you. And am I right, you write as well? You're also a writer?
I used to.
You used to do some of that? Yeah. So are you involved in some of these exhibitions?
Only in the singing end of it, that's all.
Okay. Well, that counts.
And work me.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's just fun to see all of the people in the buildings, especially the elders and the young people together displaying their wonderful art that you never think was there. But
You actually raised a good question. How do people decide what's going to go into a show? Because I'm going to guess there are probably more pieces than a given room or space might be able to have. How are those decisions made?
the big man here.
Mr. Stumme.
Well, actually, the artists just say, you know, they talk to each other and ask who's got what, and you know, when can we get it, and so it's very kind of informal network of artists communicating with each other about what they've got and about what they'd like to present at a show. And we just pull it all together.
So it's kind of collaborative.
It's
I mean,
very
it's a joint
collaborative,
thing.
yes.
Carol isn't sitting there on a high chair somewhere saying, you're in and you're out, or anything
No.
like that.
We try to get 2 or 3 pieces from each one.
Well, the show that I saw was very diverse in both its media, and actually, I have to be honest and say, I was quite impressed with the quality that was there.
Yeah. Right.
You know, I thought, oh, well, this is one of those things where you kind of show off, and it's a support thing. Very good artists. Are any of these folks professional? I mean, in the sense that they're making money through the art, or do they have professional training? Because it was quite very good quality.
Well, a lot of people want the paintings, but what we want to do is make prints and then be able to sell them.
Okay. So that maybe something you're working on?
Right. We're just starting that
Okay,
now.
so that might be a commercial thing. Now, how have you thought about where you might be able to sell those? I mean, at local gift shops and galleries and.
Right.
Okay.
Well, and so far the Housing Authority has contacted the High Rise Representative Council about purchasing resident art or commissioning resident art to use in their community rooms in their various buildings and high rises and other public housing buildings. And so currently we're trying to catalog the art that's available and the interest among resident artists so that we can help make that happen.
That'd be a very nice collection to build when you think about it. 40
Absolutely.
buildings, there's a lot of wall space there.
Yes.
And as I recall, there are some pieces of art that they bought, maybe for lobbies and common spaces, but why not art by people that live in the different buildings?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's great. Any upcoming events? I mean, here we are in the spring. You've got a few things maybe on tap for later in the summer or in the fall, other shows?
July, they have, what is it? Steve Hatcher is putting together another program, a display of some of the arts and entertainment along with that.
Okay. And I'm assuming there's a phone number people can call if they wanted to find out. They're watching this and they say, yeah, I'd like to make sure I know exactly where that event is in July. John, maybe?
Sure. If people want to find out more information about Artist Forum events, they can call the High-Rise Representative Council, and that number is 342-1330.
Right, and they'd find some staff person. So you should probably identify the fact that you're asking about the Artist Forum.
Right.
Because those folks staff probably a lot of different issues
That's
there.
true, yeah.
Well, I wanted to ask both of you as artists, what has it meant for you to be involved in this? Has it been a good experience?
Oh, it's been a very good one. It is so nice to get around all the artists, and
Yeah.
we all have our own talk, you know, and
Sure.
so, yeah, I've really enjoyed it.
Do you trade ideas? I mean, where did you
Oh,
get the idea
yeah.
to hit all 40 buildings?
Well, I could just had that one.
That was your
when
own,
it moved,
okay.
right.
Yeah.
But, oh, yeah, that's the best part, I think, is trading, you know.
Yeah, thinking. Johnny, how about yourself? Has it been good experience, fun? Are they a good audience for you?
Yes, yes,
That's right.
yes. I think sometimes they put me on, but they're still good anyway.
Well, now your background, the gospel and
No, my back,
spiritual?
that's what I
In singing?
choose to sing.
Okay.
Is it's the feeling of what I'm looking for as a singer, you know, not as a professional singer, but just something to do for somebody, you know, like singing in the church choirs and singing at the high rise. I didn't bother with nothing else.
Yeah.
Other than that, that's enough.
That's good.
So I love that. I had a lot of experience through jazz.
Oh.
I used to live with Benny Carter, and he taught me an awful lot.
All right.
And some of the other old timers, some of them's gone
Yeah.
already, but there's a few of us still laying around.
Yeah? Doing music?
Yeah.
All right.
It's music to me is kind of like what the Russians say, a man without music in his soul is a traitor to his country. You must have music, and that brings on the peace of millions of people, but of course, fortunately, some people don't hear that, I guess.
We could use a little more.
We could use more.
Yeah, yeah. Well, given the goals of both the Representative Council, the Artists Forum, and I think I know the answer to this, but would you say that the artists' efforts here are working? Are they making happen what you were hoping it would happen in terms of the diversity committee?
I think so.
Bringing people together?
Yes, it's, we have people going and coming, you know what I mean? So some of them stay put, but some of them get jobs other places and leave. But there's always another person. The other lady I seen the other day in my building, she's active in the Aquatennial quite a bit. And she does this comic lady, what's her name?
A comedian?
Howdy,
I don't know.
country western.
Okay.
She's dead now.
Oh, all right.
I forget, but she does a takeoff on her.
Minnie Pearl.
Minnie Pearl. Oh, well, how can we forget Minnie
Yeah.
Pearl? Yeah, with
Yeah.
the price tag on
Yeah.
the, yeah.
Well, I forget anything that old now.
I think that's why she kept the price tag there, because she'd forget how much the hat cost.
Well, this lady, she's very good at that, and
That'd be great fun.
it is. There's a lot of people in the high rise that has a lot of talent.
Well, it seemed to me that having this opportunity would be a reason to live there. I mean, if I was looking around and kind of think, well, where do I want to spend some time and live it, that would go a long way to making me decide, hey, I've got a community of people there that I share something. Even if I'm not a photographer, it might be fun, as you say, to share those ideas and to take part in it. We've got just a moment left here. I wanted to ask, how is this supported? Obviously through a lot of volunteer work. Does the Representative Council put some resources into this? Or?
Yeah, it's supported through a Minneapolis Arts Commission's grant, as well as through a diversity grant from the Housing Authority.
Okay, and that goes through your committee, I assume, and then you implement all that.
Right.
Well, that's great. Well, Carol Vance, thank you very much. Pleasure to have you on, and nice to see your work here.
Well, thank you.
Johnny Walker, a pleasure. And John Stumme, thank you for being here, making this happen. Well, up next, you may recognize our next guest from another City Cable 34 program, MPD Live, or perhaps as a Minneapolis Police Crime Prevention Specialist. But did you know she can sing the blues? Please welcome the Linda Roberts Blues Band.
Ain't no sunshine when he's gone, only darkness every day. Ain't no sunshine when he's gone, and he's always gone too long. Anytime he goes away, I wonder this time where he's gone. I wonder if he's gone to stay. Ain't no sunshine when he's gone, and he's always gone too long. Anytime he goes away. And I know, hey, don't leave that thing alone. Ain't no sunshine when he's gone.
Very nice, very nice. Linda Roberts and the Blues Band.
Thank you, Phil.
Congratulations, that's great. Now, as I understand it, you have a standing gig in town?
Yes.
Over in the West Bank?
Yes, at the Viking every Thursday.
Okay. When does that start?
It starts about 9:30, and
Okay.
we go all night, and it's a lot of fun.
That
So
sounds
you
good.
should come down.
And you got the group here behind you?
Yes.
I think you got the world's only happy drummer. I think he's very good there.
He's a great
He's smiling while he's doing
That's
that.
Steve
good.
Fine. He's a great drummer.
All right.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun.
And you're opening for somebody in the middle of May.
Yes, at the Caboose, Sally Taylor, on May 13th. And the music again starts at 9:30. And
For that event as
For
well.
that event as well.
good.
So if you wanted to attend, you should get in touch with the Caboose.
Okay. Well, and if people want to find out more about this group or when they're up and performing, they can always call the City Cable 34 hotline, 673-2234. So
Well,
good way to do
thanks
it.
a
Linda,
lot,
thank you
Phil.
for being on the show.
Thank you.
That's great. Now stay tuned. Jan will be back in just a moment to wrap up right after this.
Games Parents Play.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Stop that. You're too kind. Welcome to today's show, where we're going to see some games parents play. They play to win, but for their kids, it's no win. However, seeing is believing. So, no more waiting, right? Our first contestant, please. Our first contestant is playing the game Marry Mom. Guys, you can play your own version, Disneyland Dad. Now, the point of this game is to break the rules. Buy the kids tons of presents. Take them on cool vacations the other parent can't afford. Fill them with junk food. Let them stay up as late as they want. In short, Be a blast! Be the preferred parent. Make the other parent seem boring, strict, stingy, a drag. And the prize for playing this game, the perfect opportunity for your kids to play one parent against the other. Thank you, contestant number 1. Let's hear it for our Merry Mom.
You just saw a clip from a program called Games People Play. It was done for the University of Minnesota. Producer-writer was Sandra Becker. Director-editor was Bruce Fredrickson. And this program was a gold medal winner in the 1999 ITVA Twin Cities Video Festival, which was held last month. ITVA is the premier association for video, multimedia, and film professionals.
Nice work.
Yes.
That's good.
Indeed.
Well, I think we had another nice eclectic show.
We did.
Yeah. A lot of good music and that sort of thing.
Yeah. What do you got? You got some stuff?
Well, we always do a little chit-chat at the end of the show. I want to mention, Phill, Brunelle, they're celebrating 30 years with the Plymouth Music Series. The Frank Theater is celebrating its 10th anniversary, and they're going to do it by staging their premiere production, the show that they started with, Farmyard, by Frank Kretz. Directed by Wendy Knox. It's going to be running through the 23rd of May, and it's all going to happen at the Minneapolis Theater Garage. So, pretty neat.
It is very cool. That's really exciting. Congratulations, Wendy.
That's right. That's good. Also, on a different topic.
Yes.
On a different topic, at Lakewood Cemetery, now that's not hard to find, and once you get there, try and leave. They are doing, again this year, Memorial Weekend. I went last year, and it was great. They have concerts. They have a ceremony, which you would expect. They have festivities of all types there, and they also have an exhibit. That's Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, May 29th, 30th, and 31st. That's at Lakewood Cemetery over there by Lake Calhoun. It's a great event.
Well, you know, I'm convinced.
Yeah, go.
Well, I will.
I thought it was a plot the first time I went, but it's a lot of fun.
Only you, Phill, would say that. I just know it. I want to mention a really fun event that's coming up, the Film Board annual meeting on Monday, May 24th. The cool thing about this is that Al Franken is going to be the guest speaker.
And he's originally from around here.
He is.
That's right.
He's a local guy.
Kind of a friend on cable. If you're watching us, you're watching on cable. There's a show called The Bat of Minerva. Any idea what that's about?
Not a clue.
Most people would. It's a show about philosophy. And kind of a compatriot of mine, Peter Shea, does this. It's on Regional Channel 6, Friday nights from midnight to 1. Now, I actually do stay up and watch that. How many shows about philosophy do you get to see? And it's also on City Cable 32 here in Minneapolis. So he describes it as a show of compulsive eclecticism regarding philosophy. And for those of us that think there isn't enough philosophy out there in the public sector, watch The Bat of Minerva. It's a good show.
I think they get their compulsive eclecticism maybe here on Artifacts. I don't know.
Oh, and I thought it was like from Plato or something. I have no idea.
I don't know.
Now, by the way, next month on Artifacts, we're going to be talking with folks from Minneapolis Public Schools about arts in education, particularly about this big, huge Annenberg grant. They got a lot of money to help get some community meetings going and do more in terms of arts education. So that's next month.
Good story.
Yeah.
Very exciting. I don't have any more events.
I think we should tell these people that you get your paper and pencil out right now, because our calendar of events is coming up, and find out some good things to do.
And of course, if you have any questions or comments about what you've seen or have some ideas for the show, please do give us a call at
673-2234. That's our hotline, and you can find out all about the wonderful guests you've seen on this show.
And the area code, of course, is 612.
That's right. So we'll see you next time on Artifacts. I'm Phill Lindsay.
And I'm Janet Zahn. Thanks for watching.
If you missed the Minneapolis-St. Paul International Film Festival, here's your chance to take home a local filmmaker's premiere work, your very own autographed copy of Screwdrivers, the short film by Benno Nelson. Those in the know report that Benno will personally deliver the film and reenact scenes from his favorite episodes of Baywatch if you win. So pick up that phone and call Artifacts. Leave your name, address, and phone number on the City Cable 34 hotline, 673-2234, and the 5th and 7th caller will win their very own copy of Screwdrivers. Be sure to tell us you're watching Artifacts too. That number again, 673-2234.